Yo, how we doing? So, I'm going to do a little video on meditation today because it's something I've looked into a lot actually. 2019, me and my missus went to India. We went to a place called Rishikesh where we spent a lot of time looking into things like meditation, travelled to a few Buddhist countries and really kind of looked into it and studied different types of, different strategies and styles of meditation. And this is something I've realised, right, which I wanted to share. In terms of meditation, I think there's a few things to think about. So if your goal is to seek like enlightenment and to connect with whatever's going on inside the subconscious, or even connect with God consciousness, then obviously that's one thing, and that's a whole different situation altogether. But if you're like me, if I'm being honest, for years, trying to do like mindfulness meditation, because firstly you're told it's the right thing to do, it's something that we should all be doing. And I don't disagree with that, but I think there's intent, and you need to ask yourself about your intent. Why is it I'm doing this? And if you're in a position where you're like trying to almost like run away, so you're almost trying to like avoid something. You're trying to go to a place of not thinking because you can't stand your thoughts or stand being in your own head, and you're doing it as you'll know, this is something that you have to know, this is something you have to accept and admit to yourself, because you will know what you're doing and the reason why you're doing it. And what I was struggling with is being not alone with myself, because I'm happy being alone with myself, but really being in my own head. So if I wake up early in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm tossing and turning, I'd always have negative thoughts. That was like the thing. I'd never sit there dwelling on positive things. It was always fucking negative. So that's number one. And I try to do mindfulness meditation and things like yoga and stuff, and keeping myself busy to avoid those thoughts. And when you are trying to seek time spent in mindfulness because you want to avoid those thoughts, then I think that's something. So I was interrupted there. Yeah, so if you're trying to avoid these thoughts, and mindfulness meditation is what you're seeking, and it gives you that peace that you can't get in your own head, then personally, I think other than trying to get those moments of peace, I don't see there being a huge amount of benefit. And what I actually come to realise is what you're actually doing is you're running away from something. So my advice in that situation, in terms of the meditation, is to use meditation not to avoid those thoughts. You're sat there and all these thoughts and emotions are coming up, and you start feeling guilty. I shouldn't be feeling these and thinking these. Push it aside, the analogy of like the cloud in the sky, the cloud's the thought. Watch it go past, let it go. And what I found is that again, is avoiding the situation. And what you're probably best off doing, this is at least what I found with myself, is to basically spend a bit of time with the things that are popping up, the thoughts, the emotions, why, and start asking why. Why does this thought keep popping up? Whatever it is, you're a failure, you're a loser, whatever, I don't know. And acknowledge the emotions that are attached to that. So you get this feeling of, I don't know, say you're in sales, and this thought of capitulation. Oh, imagine if that deal falls through, oh my God, you get this pit in the stomach, this feeling of falling, this feeling of, negativity and doubt and all of these things, right? I'm not saying like dwell in that. What I'm saying is lean into it. Why? Why do I feel this way? why? And let's say, for instance, the deal does fall through, whatever it is. Why am I so worried about this? Why does this define who I am as a person? How many times has this happened in the past where deals have fallen through and I didn't die or fall off the face of the planet? I actually bounced back and learned and grew and actually become a better person, and sort of like really kind of lean into these things. And I feel like once you shed light on these fears and these worries, they become less powerful, number one. But a little trick I learned this through a psychologist actually, is to give yourself permission to push back worry, right? Don't say to yourself, I will never worry about this, worrying's wrong. Just be like, as a good example, if you're on holiday, you're chilling out, you're away from all the hustle and bustle and the madness of life, and you have a lot of time in your own head and you start to think negatively or have doubts or fears or anxieties. What I started to do is to basically say to myself, I'm going to give myself permission to push the worry back 2 weeks. I'm away for 2 weeks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to worry about this when I get home. And it's almost like a muscle that you start to grow, and it starts to become stronger. So I'm not going to stop worrying about this. I mean, that's the goal, but you're not going to say that to yourself, because you'll always convince yourself of, reasons to worry. That's kind of the problem here. But there's nothing I can do about it right now. I'm going to live for now in the moment. I'm on holiday. I'm going to give myself permission to fully enjoy this holiday and this experience. And I'm going to put that worry aside for 2 weeks. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to deal with it then. And just doing that allowed me massively to separate myself from the fear and the worry. Because when you get anxiety, it's almost like you get wrapped up in it. Like you can't almost separate your situation and the fears and the anxiety and the worries. It sort of all just wraps up into one, and before you know it, you're in it and you're drowning in it. So it sort of like allows you to detach yourself from it, acknowledge it, separate from it, and put it to one side and be like, right, we're going to deal with this in 2 weeks or a week or whatever, or later down the line. You don't even have to give a date. Just put it to one side and crack on. And I think if you've got anxiety and worries and fears and overthink things, then you've probably got some form of OCD, like me. And what this OCD does, or what this does with the OCD, is it allows you to still think that you're in control of things, and you're not being what's the term, like you're not being unorganized with these things. You're like, right, I'm still in control of this. So what I'm going to do is just put it to one side, so it's there, I know it's there, but I'm just going to give myself permission to enjoy the moment. So yeah, what we're doing, we're really focusing on that separation from these feelings. Not in the sense of, like I say, running away, hiding away. Putting it in, not even a box, but marking it and saying, right, okay, this is the situation, this is how it makes me feel. I'm just going to put it to one side. I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to focus on being happy, right? To be happy in the moment. So sort of living in the moment, but not like a woo-woo mindfulness living in the moment. Living in a moment, aware that there's issues that you've got to face, but I don't need to drown in them every second of every day. So that disconnection. Something else that I've realised, and this is key in my opinion, once you do this and you start to lean into the situation and the feeling, whatever that is, whatever it is going on, you start to detach yourself and lean into it and start asking yourself some questions and put a pin in it, and I mean, something I did, and I'd recommend this big time. I've had two guests on the show. One of them is Edward, he's a hypnotherapist, and the other one is Jonathan Butler. He's a RTT, that's Rapid Transformation Therapy. So he's an RTT therapist. And what we did is we went deep into hypnosis, and we looked at my childhood and things like this, and certain traumas that were caused when I was young that created these irrational fears and worries and things like this. And when I started to, like I said, acknowledge it and isolate it and spend some time looking at what it is and why it's got this control over me, why, you know, I've had this repetitive fear of something for such a long period of time. And once you isolate it and, you know, separate yourself from it, it does lose its power. It's like what's the term I'm going for? Like, you know, putting light or acknowledgement or knowledge around things, gnosis almost, of something, takes away the fear. And once I started to do that, I found that when I was doing my meditations, instead of wrestling with this fear that I'm trying to avoid and this feeling that I'm trying to avoid, this sinking gut feeling that keeps coming up every time I meditate, because I dealt with the actual problem and or even acknowledged the problem and started to do the work, and the work we'll go into. I'm going to keep talking about this topic with guests and on my own as well. We'll go into the work. The work is, there's a lot to it, but this is like beginning, you know, a start really. Will almost like unclog the mind. You realise that these problems that you've created in your head become massive when, as soon as you shine the light on it, it's actually really small and it's actually not even a thing most of the time. Don't get me wrong, there's real problems and situations and real, you know, things to be worried about, but 9 times out of 10 the worry itself is worse than the actual thing itself. So once you shed the light on it, you realise it's not actually that big, and it's had way more I'd say control over you and your life and the way you think from a conscious and a subconscious perspective for such a long period of time. You realise that when you are laying in bed, you know, trying to fall asleep, or you wake up in the morning, the first thoughts that come into your mind, or when you're doing the meditation, you're not getting, well, that thing's gone. It's gone now. So the whole mindfulness is a lot easier because you're not avoiding something. I'm sure there's something else now, and there's another thing and another thing and another thing, and that's just kind of the way it is. There's always going to be something. You know, we're not perfect, but once you start to unclog these like over-exaggerated psychological things that are actually 9 times out of 10 not really anything, you know, it becomes a lot clearer, and this whole, you know, being at peace with yourself starts to manifest itself without effort and without you having to force these things and avoid things and you know, put pressure on yourself to sit there quietly. And you know, you don't even feel the need to even really do that. You don't feel the need to meditate, or I don't anyway. These are all just my opinions, of course, and my experience. You don't feel the need to meditate mindfulnessly when you're at peace with yourself, because you've dealt with whatever the problem was. That's my experience. So I don't feel the need to do it anymore like I used to. I felt that I needed to look into meditation and do mindfulness meditation a lot when I was actually facing trauma or governed by old trauma, whereas now I'm living, you know, I'm more at peace with myself. I don't feel the need to go to that place anymore. I feel that I am just comfortable and I'm not chasing anything. So still got a lot of work to do, but that's a massive part of what I found. So essentially the sort of shadow work, you know, there's certain things that I would do in terms of reaction to life that would be weird. I'd get angry at things, I'd get stressed about things that I shouldn't, you know, most people would be like, Jay, why is that even a problem? But to me, it's a big fucking problem. And then once I sort of done that shadow work and I realised it's my ego that's causing me to react this way because it's trying to protect me against something that happened when I was 4 years old that I didn't even know about. I mean, you know, so you start to sort of do that inner child, that shadow work, and it will just clear things massively, and that's what I found. So massive shout out to Edward and Jonathan for their work that they've done with me. It's been massive, and it's changed everything for me. The other thing I want to talk about, this is a bit of a separate issue, but it's all linked into the same thing really, and that's toxicity in the environment. So what I've come to learn, and I've had different guests where we've talked about this specific topic, and I'll be talking about it more and more as we go, because this is a journey. I'm sharing my journey, and I'm interviewing people along the way who know the things I want to know, or the things I do know, or the things I've done, and I want to really get into it and share it with people because it could help, because it helped me and it's helped others. So when you are living in a toxic environment, that could be a mouldy house, that could be, you know, high levels of like EMF, that could be the food you're eating, parasites, I mean, it goes on and on. Things like, you know, people eat sushi and it's full of mercury. You could be drinking tap water which is contaminated with cadmium or lead or whatever. You know, you need to clear your air up, you need to clear the environment up, you need to clear your mind, all of these things, all of these like toxicities, these toxins in your environment, in your life. When I say toxins, it could be something physical, it could be mold in your house or at work, just as much as it could be holding on to a fucking bullshit issue you had with someone 5 years ago and you won't let it go and you won't forgive them. Like, it could be whatever, or something in your childhood, whatever. What happens is it massively affects your central nervous system, and it puts you into the sympathetic nervous system. Once you're in the sympathetic, essentially what you're doing is you're on like red alert. You're in fight or flight. So the parasympathetic is your rest and digest. This is when life is peaceful. Like someone said to me a while ago, and I think about this a lot. You're either in growth or you're in battle, essentially. So you're either in trauma or growth, one or the other. The parasympathetic is growth. That's rest and digest. Your body's healing, your body's detoxing. You know, you're living a peaceful life. You're growing as an individual. And the other side is obviously the stress, the battles, the anxiety, all of these things. And what I found is my environment was toxic in many ways. The way I was thinking, the way I was seeing myself, the house I lived in, fears and worries about things. I had an issue with mercury from a vaccine that I've spoke a bit about. And it was kicking me into fight or flight. I was constantly in fight or flight, constantly ready to go. I was in like amber the whole time, and all it took was one little thing, one worry, a termination at work, someone let me down for something, someone made a bad comment, I don't know, whatever, and I would be in full-blown fight or flight. And until you deal with whatever this is, and this is your own journey, this is your own thing, you have to figure this out yourself. The path, you know, to good health is an individual one, and it's one that you have to master. You have to do all of this yourself. You have to learn and grow and figure things out, suss things out. You can't palm your health, physical, mental, spiritual well-being off to someone else. You just can't do it. You have to take control yourself. And I figured out what my issues were, and once I removed the problems, as problems, not just problem, and this was physical and mental, I noticed that my central nervous system started to calm down massively. My sleep was unreal. I was sleeping so well. I still am. I mean, I fall asleep like in about 4 seconds and I wake up and it's the morning. I was waking up for 2-3 hours a night, tossing and turning. I was in my head. It was horrible. So how the hell are you going to meditate when you're in that sort of horrific, you know, traumatic mindset? So once I started to alleviate the toxicity around me, and I spoke a lot about this with Adrian in my podcast with Adrian. I mean, I did all this work a long time ago, and you know, he gives good tips, things that I've sort of followed myself as well. So it's all there. I started to be, like I said, at peace with myself. My central nervous system calmed down massively. It takes you a lot to trigger me now. You know, I get comments on some of my videos, you know, taking the piss out of me or whatever. And in my opinion, I'm just like, you know, I'm doing this because I'm, you know, sharing my message, and I'm interviewing amazing guests, and I'm trying to help, and if you don't like it, then it's not for you. Whereas 2 years ago, I'd probably be arguing in the comments, getting caught up in all of that. But because I'm no longer in a constant state of fight or flight, these things don't bother me. I'm on my own path now, and I'm very much living in my own little bubble of controlling my thoughts subconsciously and consciously. And these thoughts are they're a lot easier to be like dwelling on positive things now. I do that a lot now. If I wake up in the morning on a Saturday or Sunday, I don't know, and I feel like chilling in bed for 20 minutes with my eyes closed, I used to be wrestling and something negative would pop into my head, and then I'm awake. I'm like, right, I need to get up now. I can lay there for 20 minutes, half an hour, even longer, just reciting my affirmations peacefully. No wrestling with it. If I say, I want to earn this much, I'm not like, oh yeah, but you're a failure. I don't get that anymore. It's, I want to earn this much, and I'm going to do it because I can. And I believe in myself, and I believe that I can. And I can't wait. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to think this and feel this. Such a different state. So essentially bringing it back to the whole point of this video. If you're trying to do mindfulness meditation, I think it's important to ask yourself why. When you're in that space and you get these feelings and these thoughts that are popping into your mind, the negative ones, not the good ones. The good ones are cool. It's great. The negative ones, ask yourself why. Why is this popping up, and why does it scare me? And then lean into that. Spend some time looking into that. Then you need to go deeper. Start doing the shadow work. I said I was going to talk about the shadow work and doing the work, but we've got Edward on again actually on Sunday, and the whole show is going to be dedicated to doing the work and doing the shadow work. So tune into that. It's going to be good. He's definitely an expert in that field, and I'm going to really get my questions together, and we're going to go into this and figure this out. But I wanted to just share that, and this video might not be for everyone. You might follow the channel because I had a certain guest on that talks about things that you're into, and that's cool. I appreciate that. But this whole channel is it's not, I'm not focusing on one thing. It's not just health, and it's not just, like spirituality or Gnosticism or conspiracy stuff. It's the whole. We're looking at the whole. I'm very much a holistic type of person. I know that, to change certain things, you can't just get caught up in that specific thing. You have to be looking at everything, your whole environment. Like I said, your childhood, your life, the things that you're, the things that drive you. Most people aren't even aware of what drives them. And there's a lot of clues in that. And, we need to look at the whole. We need to be balanced. You're not just going to heal because you do one thing. Parasite cleanse is the ultimate. That fixes everything. Or meditation, or, psychological things, hypnotherapy, it fixes everything. You need to look at the whole here. And I've been all around the houses. Some things work, others don't. Well, some things work better than others do. Everything works to a degree, but I take from each thing, and I learn and I share, and then I go on to the next and the next and the next. And each thing's leading me to the bigger picture. And that's ultimately what this channel's about. And I hope you're enjoying it. And thought I'd share this video to just kind of have a bit of a ramble about everything, and try and piece it all together, but it's really hard. So